Hi everyone, this is Ozan again from the Brutal Analyst Mentor. We have been trying to understand how to use artificial intelligence in our practice. We are trying a lot of things. We're trying to figure out the image side of things, text side of things, whatnot. So recently we came across a TED Talk done by Greg from OpenAI, the CEO of OpenAI. And just wanted to kind of summarize what that talk entailed. And I used ChatGPT to analyze the conversation about ChatGPT. We're not going to go into the details of the talk, but I think the most interesting part of the discussion was where the TED creator, founder, Chris interviewed Greg right after his speech. So what I have seen happening on that stage was really interesting. So I just wanted to create this short video, or maybe long video, to talk about a lot of things, which triggered me to think, to execute, to understand. So first, as everybody else, Chris is super impressed with the new ChatGPT 4's ability to generate human-like responses and how it can reflect the inner workings of the coding structure. This is a really interesting path to see how it works, how it creates codes. Greg is not very open, I could say, about the limitations and the processes of building the whole ecosystem, the model. And since it's a very large language model that uses deep learning, self-reinforcing algorithms to process, analyze vast amount of text data, it's really a point where everybody should be concerned about, which Chris is one of them. So he has expressed very clearly the concerns about the ethical implication of using AI language models and the questions whether there's a chance that it will replace human interaction altogether. So I think this is where it got interesting, because Greg acknowledged that there are potential risks and challenges like bias, data privacy concern, but also he believed that the AI unleashing this floodgates of the technology was deeply embedded in the conversations in AI. And his example was, if somebody told you this great technology exists, but it will take us 5 years to make sure that we have enough checks and balances and guardrails, versus that we're only going to be able to have enough guardrails and checks and balances within 500 years, which one would you have chosen to release this technology? So I think his personal opinions on the 500-year side, but his actual performance on how they chose to release this super powerful tool is kind of a contradicting figure in my case. So the unresponsible and unethical uses of AI is still a conversation that the community is having. This was really interesting because I tried to understand how the concerned side of Chris was meeting the optimist side of Greg. But regardless, it highlighted the need for responsible and ethical use of AI. And it kind of acknowledged the complex and evolving nature of this technology. One thing Greg was kept mentioning for a couple of times was like, we let it hit it on our face. Yeah, okay, fine, but one cannot help but think, who gave you that position? But anyways, so once I got that small debrief from AI, and I tried to understand deeper what the Chris's viewpoints were. And where I got to, and I used this directly, can you explain the key points of Chris's concerns? The answer I got from ChatGPT was that Chris is sounding skeptical about the benefits of AI language models and questions or worries about how it would replace the human interaction and the ethical implications, where it could lead to very fast adaptation of jobs, which is very difficult, unreliable or biased data sources that had been proven true for many cases, which will come back in a second. And also, he questioned the validity of using these AI language models, arguing that the creativity and the empathy will be missing forever from the crucial human interaction. So Chris also expressed some doubts about the accuracy of the responses and argued that they could be misleading or even biased, or misinformation could be a concern. He believes that humans are better equipped to understand complex situations and emotions than AI language models will ever be. But the interaction piece is, I think, is where it gets really worried. So overall, Chris, and like many others, is skeptical and cautious towards AI language models and its ability to, or risk to, replace the human side of things. However, I also asked ChatGPT to understand and summarize Greg's viewpoints and why he's more optimistic. And to be honest, AI is very impressed. Greg is very impressed with the ability of AI language models to create human-like responses, and believes that there is a potential to revolutionize various industries, which I agree, but with the acknowledgement that there's potential risks and challenges associated with AI. I think an important part of that conversation was when Chris was asking Greg, the initial creation of OpenAI was to create a gate or a tool set for everybody outside of the big tech world to be able to control what the big tech was providing. So it's like ironic to see the shift where the purpose of OpenAI, which was to do this service for the public, that's why it was a not-for-profit, and now it has turned into a tool used by those big tech companies, so the ones that it started trying to control, let me say. So even though this is like a truly ironic statement for how things have been happening, but there are a lot of people like Greg who are very positive on the impact of AI on the society, that it will improve efficiency, accuracy, and accessibility in a lot of things like healthcare and education and customer service. I think many people like Greg believes that these models can complement human interactions rather than replace them. But there have been few examples of true value being proven with that use, to be honest. Yes, in education, yes, in healthcare, but on an overall scheme, is this going to be the exception or the norm is still questionable. Overall, the AI says the Greg expressed an optimistic and forward-thinking view towards these models, and societal improvement could come out of this. So after this, I actually asked ChatGPT to give some other people, give examples of other people having concerns about AI, and some I made a wrong prompt, so I actually accidentally asked AI to generate quotes from Chris's viewpoint, and some of them were really impressive. So one quote said that I'm not convinced that AI language models can ever fully replicate human interaction. There are certain nuances and subtleties that only humans can understand. So this is not a quote by anybody. This is a quote that can be said by somebody who is in favor of Chris's views. I think that was really interesting, because first I thought Chris has said this quote, but then I read the text more clearly and I realized, okay, I made a mistake. So one of the others, like the use of AI models raises important ethical questions about privacy, bias, and fairness. We need to address these issues before we can fully embrace this technology. Like if you read this statement in a newspaper, in a journal, a tweet, I think you'll possibly believe that somebody actually said this. So, and this is the interesting part of where you need to be careful what you ask, what you prompt the AI. Another one, good one actually, is when the ChatGPT said a quote could be that AI language models lack the creativity and empathy that are essential for effective human interaction. We should prioritize human interaction over AI whenever possible. So again, this is pretty accurate. Somebody with that context in mind could actually say this. So after this point, I wanted to kind of see who is in both camps, who is in like different camps, and then who is in both camps. So I asked if the ChatGPT can provide me with a list of people who have raised concerns publicly that are thinking like Chris. And of course, not surprisingly, Elon Musk came first. And AI has obviously identified that he has spoken publicly about the potential dangers of AI and the need for regulatory oversight. Kate Crawford, apparently from NYU, a professor and researcher at NYU, has highlighted the risks of bias and discrimination in the AI and the need for greater transparency and accountability in its development and deployment. Apart from these two, Timrit Gebru, a former ethics researcher at Google, Joy Budalvini, a computer science and founder of Algorithmic Justice League, and a not-for-profit organization called the Electronic Frontier Foundation, have all raised concern, expressed concern about the impact of AI in free speech, human autonomy, and greater public awareness, have asked for greater public awareness for the possible AI policymaking. So these were the few examples of individuals and organizations that have raised concerns. And I asked then, what are the quotations of these people? So I'm not going to list all of these. We'll put them in our transcription. But Elon Musk has said AI is fundamentally a risk to the existing of human civilization, 2017. Kate Crawford mentioned something in the similar lines to New York Times in 2021. Timrit Gebru, some similar things to in the New Yorker in 2022, that AI can create more opportunities who have been marginalized rather than just trying to replicate what existed. So those are the interesting but concerned views, and as well as the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Joy Budalvini as well. So then I asked, some of these quotations could be reversed, or some people have different ideas. And I asked, are there any people, can ChatGPT create a list of people that are in favor of Greg's point of view? That means they're more optimistic about AI. And so what happened after that is, again, a true power of the whole structure. So it understood the context and listed people that have expressed, much like Greg, conversations in public. So here are some examples. Andrew is a computer scientist and entrepreneur who's in favor of, very optimistic about the AI use. Fei Li, an AI researcher, is super bullish about AI being used for social good. Sundar Pichai, not surprisingly, the CEO of Google, has emphasized the transformative impact of AI in various industries. Of course, he's leading one of the initiatives that's going to be making a lot of money from it. Kai-Fu Lee, former AI accelerator and a VC, is very bullish about how applications will dominate areas of society like healthcare and education. And Durnus Hassabis, the CEO of DeepMind, also addressed that the world's most pressing challenges, such as climate change and healthcare, could actually be solved through artificial intelligence. And they have quotes that will indicate when they use it, how they use it. So in summary, I was very curious to see how people were reacting to this conversation between Chris and Greg, because in this last 6 months, we as practitioners in the field have been seeing a lot of applications, a lot of startups coming up with new ideas, new capabilities, and I think most of the applications I'm seeing is directly threatening some of the startups that have already spent a lot of time and money building technologies. If you've seen examples of ChatGPT writing code, ChatGPT doing data analysis and database queries, it's very difficult to stay neutral, and it's also very difficult to stay kind of disconnected from this environment. Everybody who's concerned is concerned for good reasons. Everybody who's optimistic are optimistic for good reasons. Yet it doesn't change the fact that with both sides debating and talking about finding solutions, startups are moving forward. So I'm going to be showing you some cases that startups have actually used this power negatively, not positively. This is going to be important to showcase how real the dangers are for people who, that's been mentioned by people like Chris and many others, and kind of give you a landscape of the legal challenges or legal cases. So these concerns are legit. And there are several cases in US and outside of US about companies who have misused, unethically used, willingly used it for bad purposes, and it's been publicized. And some of them have been even legally challenged. For example, in 2018, Amazon faced criticism and legal challenges of its use of AI-based hiring tools that were biased against women. The company completely abandoned the tools, but still faced legal action from job applicants. Clearview AI in 2020, a facial recognition startup, was faced with lawsuits and regulatory scrutiny over use of facial recognition technology that was scraping images from social media without users' consent, so violating privacy and data protection laws. 2017, Uber faced criticism when an AI-based ride-hailing algorithm that was proven to create discriminatory practices against certain groups of drivers. The company paid to settle the lawsuits and pledged to address the biases. Google in 2020 faced a lawsuit over using AI tools to spy on users' browsing activities. Again, was accused of violating privacy and data protection law. 2018, IBM was accused of using AI that had facial recognition tools that were biased against people with darkened skin tones. So these concerns are legit. I mean, of course, all of these were in the US, where already questions about race, questions about prejudices and biases against people of color, and people of different genders, except for white Americans, white American guys, is a serious concern. So these were the examples of companies that faced legal challenges in the US of use of AI. It's worth noting that this is not just a US issue. There are also examples of non-US companies that were challenged in their unethical use of AI. Alibaba, for example, in 2020, the financial services side, which is Ant Group, faced regulations, scrutiny over use of AI in lending algorithms that were discriminating against women and small businesses. So after China, a Japanese technology company, NEC, faced legal action over its use of AI-based hiring tools that were discriminatory against women. Highview in 2019, the UK Information Commissioner's Office launched an investigation against their video interview, again infringing on candidates' privacy, data protection rights, and bias. Tencent in 2020 had a problem facing its AI-based facial recognition technology in public spaces. SenseTime, the Chinese AI startup, faced controversy over its alleged involvement in the Chinese government surveillance and detention of Muslim minorities. The company denied any wrongdoing, but this just shows the level of issues or the depth of issues that are surrounding the AI ecosystem. So definitely we need greater transparency. Definitely we need ethical oversight in AI research and development. And US or non-US, there will be more cases like this, as for sure, on the non-ethical uses of AI. And as AI continues to become more ubiquitous and influential, it is likely that more of these challenges will arise in creating different conversations around the planet. So In summary, AI has its passionate advocates and concerned individuals surrounding the topic. I'm kind of both pessimistic and optimistic. Studying economics, studying business, studying environmental sciences, and being in the startup world for the last 10, 12 years have given me different perspectives. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen, and we're constantly working to figure out how it will affect our own work. So the Brutally Honest Mentor is here to help. Like, comment, share, and contact us for further conversations on AI and how its uses will be more important in our life going forward. Take care.